news from the Christine O'Donnell archive reveals that she is more of a mainstream Republican than originally thought, perhaps. Our third story, falling in line with the majority of the GOP, O'Donnell says evolution is made up. But in a fresh new twist, Ms. O'Donnell argues that if evolution was real, we'd all be able to head on down to the nearest zoo and watch monkeys turn into people while you wait. True to his word, HBO host Bill Maher releasing another clip of Delaware's Republican nominee for Senate, explaining her worldview from his old ABC show, Politically Incorrect. We take you back now to 1998.
Evolution is a myth, and even Darwin himself...
Evolution is a myth?
You know what?
Have you ever looked at a monkey?
Well, then why aren't monkeys still evolving into humans?
Okay. Perhaps O'Donnell was just clarifying comments she had made 2 years earlier in a debate with an evolutionary biology professor on CNN. O'Donnell was then asked to lend her expertise on the subject matter as a member of the right-wing Christian group Concerned Women for America. Her main concern, quote, too many people blindly accepting evolution as fact. Despite that, O'Donnell generously offered that evolution might be taught in schools in addition to creationism, because if you teach them together, quote, then it is not the establishment of a religion. After all, quote, evolution is also based on a set of belief systems, i.e. a religion, and that's secular humanism. O'Donnell also alleged that DNA is linked to God, and citing the well-known scientific journal The Book of Genesis, O'Donnell pointed out God created the earth in 6 days, 6 24-hour periods, and there's just as much, if not more, evidence supporting that. She also challenged the merits of carbon dating. Well, of course, she's against dating of all kinds. Oh, carbon. They use carbon dating as an example to prove that something was millions of years old. Well, we have the eruption of Mount St. Helens, and the carbon dating test that they used then would have to then prove that these were hundreds of millions of years younger, when what happened was they had the exact same results on the fossils in canyons that they did on the tests that were supposedly 100 millions of years old. And it's the kind of inconsistent tests like this that they're basing their facts on. As New York Magazine reports, O'Donnell based her facts on tests run by the Institute for Creation Research, whose credo is biblical, accurate, certain. The website posts such research-intensive articles like Water Flea Study Inadvertently Fits Genesis Mandate, and even bacteria seem to follow Golden Rule. Joining me now, ignoring the show business warning, never follow children or an animal act or performing bacteria, the senior correspondent for American Prospect Magazine, co-author of Free Ride, John McCain and the Media, Paul Waldman. Paul, good evening.
Hi, Keith.
When the I Dabbled in Witchcraft clip was released, O'Donnell and her camp got to it right away, addressed it right away. She has remained silent, and they have remained silent on this. Is that an admission that this is still her evolution, and there's been no evolution of her position on evolution?
Well, this kind of thing is really, whether you're talking about her belief that scientists have created mice with fully functioning human brains, or her apparent belief that, you know, your average chimp is a member of the X-Men, that's really the last thing in the world that Christine O'Donnell wants to be talking about. You know, everyone on both sides understands that the #1 priority for voters right now is jobs and the economy. And, you know, Christine O'Donnell is kind of riding this Tea Party tiger, even though that's not really where she comes from. Her career has been built on the conservative culture war. And so the thing that she does not want to talk about is all those things that she's spent the last 20 years talking about. What she would be on much safer ground talking about is just that the economy is really bad and we need change. If she gets pulled into this kind of culture war stuff, it's not very good for her. So chances are she'll just be hoping that it goes away.
Is it a plus for her in Delaware? Do we have any idea how they feel about evolution in Delaware? Or is this some idea that she would be making decisions potentially on scientific issues of concern to voters there?
Well, that may be troubling to you and me, but, you know, one of the things that's going to happen, regardless of whether the Democrats hold on to the House and regardless of what happens in any individual race, is we're going to see a pretty significant increase in the size of the Congressional Wingnut Caucus. You know, we may look at people like Louis Gohmert and Michelle Bachmann and, you know, find them alternately amusing and horrifying, but there are going to be a lot more people like them in Congress. And, you know, the GOP, as the Tea Party is kind of taking over it, it's becoming simultaneously more radical and also dumber. And I think that's what we're going to see in the coming Congress with the sort of new incarnation of the Republican Party.
I appreciate that I'm probably asking for a kind of consistency that is not requisite on that side of the equation, but Sharon Angle recently belittled insurance mandates for every illness that was classified under autism, and she used air quotes. By embracing candidates who are rejecting science and medicine and, you know, and I don't know, the formula that goes into H2O, can the Tea Party continue to claim that it's only about small government, that all the other issues are irrelevant, or are they suddenly getting big, crazy tent on their supporters?
Yeah, they can try to claim that, and that they're sort of anti-establishment and they're against establishment Republicans as well as establishment Democrats. But what you see whenever they get into the details of those issues is that they're really just extremely conservative Republicans. And, you know, on health care, the provision that she was objecting to is something that's going to take effect in 2014, where there are going to be certain kinds of conditions that insurance companies are going to have to cover. You know, right now, for instance, they treat having a uterus as a pre-existing condition, and a lot of plans don't cover any kind of maternity care. Well, you know, when you start speaking out against the Affordable Care Act, which will change that, all of a sudden, that kind of view is not so popular, but that is sort of what the view is on the extreme right. And that's where the Tea Party really is, despite all the rhetoric that they're just concerned about deficits in the size of government.
They will get every vote from everybody exactly like them, but the more they talk, the fewer people exactly like them there are. Paul Waldman, senior correspondent with the American Prospect. Thank you again, Paul.
My pleasure.